morning. This is Wednesday, March 26, 223 days until the 2008 presidential election. Though polling tonight suggests that the Jeremiah Wright controversy has been less damaging to Barack Obama over the last 2 weeks than the Hillary Clinton campaign has been damaging to Hillary Clinton, that candidacy of implication tonight continues unabated. Our fifth story on the countdown, Senator Clinton today again ruling in the possibility of a pledged delegate switch, whether by mutiny or epiphany, she does not say. And Senator Obama back on the trail, responding to yesterday's implications about his former pastor. You will recall yesterday in an interview with the editorial board of the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review, a newspaper owned by Richard Mellon Scaife, the man Clinton allies consider the godfather of the vast right-wing conspiracy. Senator Clinton having explained why Reverend Wright would not have been her pastor.
If I had been a member of such a church, well, first of all, if I'd sat there for 20 years, I think you all would have a lot to say. Somebody gave comparable sorts of sermons. I just think you have to speak out against that. You certainly have to do it, if not explicitly, implicitly, by getting up and moving.
Back from his long weekend in the U.S. Virgin Islands on the campaign trail in Greensboro, North Carolina, Senator Obama firing back even before tonight's polling seemed to back him up.
My former pastor said some very objectionable things when I wasn't in church on those particular days, and I have condemned those outright. I do have to remind people, though, that this is somebody who was preaching 3 sermons at least a week for 30 years. And so got boiled down into, they found 5 or 6 of his most offensive statements, boiled that down into a half-an-hour sound clip, or a half-minute sound clip, and just played it over and over and over again.
Senator Obama also making the plea that voters not succumb to the politics of distraction.
We cannot solve the problems of America if every time somebody somewhere says something stupid, that everybody gets up in arms and we forget about the war in Iraq, or we forget about the economy, or we forget about the things that are going to make a difference in our children's lives. I don't want that kind of politics. I want a politics that gets stuff done. All right?
A handful of undecided and committed superdelegates now coming forward to say the Clinton campaign's tactics are doing her and the party more harm than good. Several delegates telling Matthew Berger of NBC and the National Journal that they were angered by James Carville's Judas comment about Governor Richardson. Others citing Senator Clinton's remarks about Reverend Wright yesterday as their final straw, seeing that as a direct personal attack on Senator Obama. One unnamed delegate saying the Clinton campaign is, quote, using Jeremiah Wright to scare white people, unquote. A full and fair debate about issues and differences and even fights is good, the same delegate added. Mudslinging, personal attacks, and lying is never good for any political fight or party, and I see a lot of that coming from one side more than the other. On the campaign trail in West Virginia today, President Clinton declaring all is fair in love and politics. Take, for instance, all of the mud that is allegedly being slung at his wife.
Apparently it's okay to say bad things about a girl. It's okay. The only thing that matters is what happens to you. That's all that matters. If a politician doesn't want to get beat up, you shouldn't run for office. If a football player doesn't want to get tackled and run the risk of an occasional clip, you shouldn't put the pads on. Right? All this, I don't think any of these people ought to be asked to resign. All these guys that say bad things about it in the other campaign, they say, should they resign? My answer is no. They're repeating party line. They ought to stay right where they are. Let's just saddle up and have an argument. What's the matter with that? That's what America's about. Right?
Time now to saddle up our own Dana Milbank, national political reporter of the Washington Post. Good evening, cowboy.
Howdy.
I promised those polls. Here's one set of kind of Boeing numbers in the new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll coming out tonight. 37% of those surveyed rated their feelings towards Senator Clinton as positive, 48% negative. She was at 45% positive, 43% negative in the same poll 2 weeks ago. Senator Obama, the numbers, same question, 49% positive, which is down 2 points, 32% negative, that is up 4 points. This suggests, does it not, Dana, that the Wright controversy damaged Obama less than just Senator Clinton's campaign has damaged her?
This poll does suggest that, Keith, but I think there's a lot of evidence here that it's harming both of them greatly. There's also a Gallup poll out tonight that should send chills down the spine of every Democrat in the country right now, suggesting that Obama would lose 28% of the voters who are now voting for Clinton, and that Clinton would lose 19% of the voters going with Obama. And that doesn't even include the larger number, 4 in 10 or so, who would just sit out the race. They have some serious divisions right now. This thing really seems to have crossed a threshold here. Clinton may have been unelectable because of her high negatives. It now seems that she may be on the verge of making Obama unelectable as well, which is an extraordinary thing given the circumstances of this election.
And those were taken, those numbers were compiled before her comments on Reverend Wright, before the news yesterday from Jake Tapper at ABC about the so-called Tanya Harding strategy, even before that was articulated. So this was just perceptions. This wasn't, people saying, oh, this is a bad campaign. Here's the question. Obviously, you're not the only one who read that poll. I'm not the only one who read that poll. The viewer is not the third person to be experienced that poll. There have to be Democratic elders who really flatly don't give a damn who gets elected as long as it has D next to their name. It could be, a used car with D next to it, and that's fine by them. When do they step in, and how do they step in, and what are we not seeing? What is going on behind the scenes?
Well, all we're seeing is these sort of cryptic things, as we've discussed, of Harry Reid promising some vague resolution, but nothing to back it up. Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, suggests a seemingly reasonable suggestion that the superdelegates fall in line behind the popular vote. Today, she got an earful from Clinton fundraisers saying that wasn't an appropriate tack to take. It is very hard to see who can appeal for peace here, but presumably, if enough people are seeing how much damage they've inflicted on the party, and by the way, there's not a corresponding loss of Republicans because of McCain, is the more people who see that, the more likely they are to respond.
One thing, though, there was one other poll number. Let me throw this one at you because it kind of softens what you just cited. The NBC poll asked, can Senator X unite the country? Clinton, it's 48% yes, but that number in January was 55. McCain is 58% yes, but that number in January was 68. And Obama is still at 60% yes. He's lost 7 points since January. But again, a conclusion, with all the charges of unelectability, racial divide, Democrat-on-Democrat violence, McCain and Clinton seem to have lost slightly more of the perception that they could unite this country in the last 2 months than has Obama.
That's so, and it's also very important to remember that we're at the height of this conflict here, and as soon as, however, they patch this thing up, they will have a few months to calm down these emotions here, regardless of how this turns out. So it's not necessarily that inflammatory a subject. Regardless, though, what seems to be happening here is Obama seems to be running into some jeopardy because of what Clinton has done among the white voters, and vice versa for Clinton and the black voters.
A great legacy to be able to claim. Dana Milbank of MSNBC and the Washington Post. Thank you, sir, and have a nice time riding off into the wilderness, cowboy.
Thanks.